We're going to discuss how to fix your dog's watchdog barking and 3 steps. But first, all right, let's be real. If your dog thinks they're running in neighborhood security, barking at every Amazon truck, the doorbell, even the wind, you're probably exhausted and it's getting nicer and nicer out. But the good news is watchdog barking is super fixable. But first, we got to understand the why it's happening. Watchdog barking just means that your dog's looking out the window and barking at things outside. Let's talk about the whys. By the end of this video, you're gonna have a real game plan to stop the chaos and finally get your dog to chill when someone walks by your house. Save this for later and let's get right into it. Why does your dog continue to bark at everything? Again, before we fix it, we gotta understand it. A few reasons why dogs bark. Dogs bark because of instinct. Some breeds are literally designed to alert humans. Even if you're a tiny fluff ball, they think they have a job. Instinct first and foremost. 2, reinforcement. If your dog barks and the thing, mailman, delivery truck, random jogger, leaves, they think they're barking workers or that they're barking works. When your mailman comes to the door and they bark and they walk away because they dropped off the mail, your dog's like, good, I did that. I made them go away. But it's not true. They're reinforcing that behavior by visitors coming in or just people coming up to your door. Boredom or anxiety. Some dogs just need an excuse to go off. Barking becomes their personal soap opera, so they could have a little bit of anxiety in there. Also, routine. If your dog has been doing this for months or years without clear feedback, it's just what they do now. Essentially, if your dog's 5 years old and they've been doing it for 5 years, they're just going to do it, but doesn't mean they can't be trained. As far as, will it be 100%? Maybe, maybe not. 80, maybe not. Just know the longer a dog practices the behavior, the longer it's going to take to change. Here's the deal. If we don't give them a better way to handle these triggers, barking is gonna stay their go-to response, and we definitely don't want that. Let's fix that because it's getting nicer, as I said, and the barking's just gonna escalate. The 3 steps finally to fix your dog's watchdog barking. Here's our game plan. Step number 1, change the pattern. Interrupt and redirect. If your dog barks out the window all day, block their view. Part of the day. I always say, look at the times of day where your dog is barking. Ideally, most of the families I work with is either early in the morning before 8 or after 4:30 when people are coming home. So close the curtains, maybe take your dog out back, anywhere where they're not seeing what they're barking at. Also, frosted window films work, blinds, or setting up visual barriers can break the habit. Also, a quick hack, white noise, calming music, classical or reggae, and playing a podcast can help too to drown out the sounds. Just kidding. But essentially anything you could do to drown out the noise so they're not looking and barking, that's going to be key. And dogs don't need patrol anything 24/7. And so breaking that cycle first is the first step, creating some type of barrier where they cannot see that. Step number 2, teach an enough or quiet cue. Instead of just yelling stop, 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 we don't want to do that because you're yelling stop and they're not stopping. So that's not working. It's gonna cut that one, right? What you're gonna do is, dogs need clear instructions. Barking itself is rewarding. We have to actively teach them what to do instead. Instead of your dog barking at 2 o'clock, what else can they do? Here's how we're gonna teach them what to do instead. When your dog pauses barking for even 1 second, you want to mark it, which just means you're going to say yes and reward the silence. That's going to be the key, to reward the silence, not the bark. You're going to pair that cue with the word enough or with a calm action, and you're going to redirect them to the place you want them to go, a bed, and have them grab a toy instead. Essentially, if your dog's barking, you're going to wait for them to be quiet. Even if it's for a split second, you're going to redirect them like, hey, over there to your bed, or come over here, and give them something else to do. And that will become the pattern. It's going to be very important to repeat that over and over again. Reward the quiet, not the noise. Most people only say quiet when they're frustrated, but your dog just hears the sounds of the barking. And when you say quiet, they're like, quiet what? So you always say quiet, then what else do you want them to do? And take them to do that. Step number 3, give your dog a new job. We talked about that earlier. If your dog thinks barking is their job, we need to give them a structured role. I swear by this. I always say, if your dog never learned a training skill in their life, over time, by sticking to the same routine, sticking to the boundaries you have with your dogs, like don't letting them cross them, they will learn. We're going to teach your dog a routine. One bark, check in with me, get paid. Treats, toys, paid. One bark, you're going to check in with me, get paid. That's what they'll start to understand. This tells them, good looking out, but I got this. When your dog can predict what happens next, barking loses its urgency. Definitely start getting a routine together. And one thing I talk about is, what are you rewarding your dog with when you're asking them to do these things? No one likes to work for free. Essentially, giving your dog a little piece of kibble and not that piece of chicken or cheese. They're like, why would I come to you? Do you see that squirrel outside? So they're just going to continue to bark. Make sure you're using something that's going to really get your dog to come. Think about it this way. You're competing with the outside world, squirrels, bunnies, rabbits, whatever. What do you have that can compete with that? Cheese sticks, hot dog, peanut butters. Call your dog back and allow them to get that reward, so they next time they hear that bark, they're like, oh, better, right? A little bonus for the extra stubborn cases, because we do have those stubborn dogs. Quiet command game, right? Reward your dog for catching themselves before barking starts. More mental work, less boredom barking. More sniff walks, training, puzzle feeders. What that means is, a tired dog's a good dog, so just giving a lot of mental work, sniffing, puzzle feeders will help those stubborn dogs. You don't absolutely have to train them to come to you, but just thinking about giving them something to do, and desensitize them to the doorbell when it rings 10 times a day, so that when it happens, it's nothing, because the doorbell is another trigger why your dog barks. It's not watchdog barking, but there's other forms of barking, but today we're talking about watchdog. Now I want to hear from you. What sets your dog off the most? Is it the doorbell, delivery guys, squirrels? Drop it in the comments and let's see what's the winning loudest trigger and what's getting your dogs barking. And if you need a game plan for your dog, you can definitely reach out. I'm around, and you can find me on all social platforms at Down for Paws. And I will see you back next week with another great topic. And I hope you gain some really good insight inside this one barking type, which is watchdog barking. See you next week.